All right. James Cummins, Executive Director of Wildlife Mississippi. And good morning, James. How are you, sir? It's good to have you.
Good morning. Good to be here. And you can't play that too long. That was great.
It was all those protest songs back in another era, and they are worth hearing again, to be honest with you. Where were you on 9/11?
One plane had already hit the Twin Towers, and I was pulling into my office in Stoneville, Mississippi, and my wife had called me as I was pulling in and said the second tower had been hit. Exactly.
Everything stopped, didn't it? Yeah, everything stopped. No matter what it was, everything stopped, and it was an amazing time. And it's hard to believe it's been 22 years, man. 22 years. By the way, on a different subject here, I read your article, and it was a good article on this one. It was opening day of dove season, 1971. I was 6 years old, had Stevens single-shot 410 shotgun. They even make a Stevens anymore. I'm not even sure
still
if they
have
still
it.
make it. You still have the shotgun. As a matter of fact, I think I still have one.
I think they do, but I'm not sure about that particular gun.
I have a single shot that my father had and still have it. You know, the one you break open and it's not going to go anywhere. I think the son has it now, but pass it down. So some of your memories on that one, and it was a very good article, but just a little bit about what hunting means to you, and also, well, we have dove season up, so I think dove season, rabbit season also opens, doesn't it, when dove season opens?
I think rabbit is a little bit later, but not too much later.
I think it is, yeah.
But alligator season, it's been pretty incredible so far this year.
I forgot about that. You're absolutely right. We have to put that wasn't a part of it when you and I were young.
No, I remember going to Leroy Percy State Park just to be able to see an alligator. You know.
Oh God, me too. As a matter of fact, that's where we had our altar boy. Being Catholic, that's where we had our altar boy picnics every single year at Leroy Percy Park, and they always told us be careful swimming because there are gators in there. So that we didn't spend a lot of time in the water. But you're absolutely right.
I don't remember any being.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't remember any being 14 feet 3 inches, though. So.
No, not that big. A little bit about your memories and dove hunting.
You know, I used to love dove hunting. In fact, Daddy and I used to dove hunt. Leroy Percy used to have a dove field as well, and we would spend a lot of time squirrel hunting. You could shoot black squirrels at Leroy Percy State Park out in the wildlife management area, and we love to do that. But really, you know, dove hunting was more in Montgomery and Webster counties near my grandparents' farms, and then sometimes on the farm. But back then with my little 410, if I was able to shoot 4 or 5, I was lucky. You know, so but probably my best dove hunt ever was with Billy Percy out of Trail Lake, Mississippi, a descendant of Leroy Percy. 7 minutes, I got my limit, and it was over sunflowers. But that's been a while back. You know.
One of my first memories after I was married, and I married into a family of hunting and fishing enthusiasts, of course, and I always was a hunting and fishing enthusiast, but they kicked it up a notch, and we were at our first dove field after the marriage. And I just said, this is a fabulous hunt. And had somebody approach us and ran us off, and my brother-in-law did not tell me it was, he didn't get the official endorsement or invitation. But a well-planned dove hunt is an activity that everybody ought to experience, especially the ones. We had one at one time that we had a guy, and I'm not going to mention his name, but he actually flew a airplane over the when it got slow, he would actually fly an airplane over pretty low, a crop duster, and stir the birds up. I thought, man, that's pretty darn good.
No comment on that one.
Yeah, no comment. I'm not sure that was legal or not, but I thought the pilot, especially if anybody's out here drinking beer, the pilot is pretty brave, and he's or else he's being paid a lot of money. But it was. How important do you think hunting is today compared to it was 10 or 15 years ago or longer?
You know, I remember growing up in Greenville, and I would take care of my neighbor. Bob Tompkins was a wildlife artist, and I'd take care of his dog while he went off to hunting camp. And he brought me a present after the first time, and it was some mossy oak camouflage. They had two types, upland and bottomland. And back then, everything was kind of an army camp. And if you really think back then, it was basic guns, very few scopes, very few pieces of equipment. And you look at where we are now in Mississippi, we have 780,000 sportsmen in the state. They spend $2.2 billion a year, support 34,000 jobs in Mississippi. I don't think 15 years ago, I don't think it was anywhere close to that. Certainly not in terms of expenditures. May have been that in terms of number of people. But hunting and fishing in Mississippi, I mean, it's the way of life. I mean, it's what we do. So I think it's increased significantly.
It is a task, though, and it is a worry of the Wildlife Association. I think the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, and all of us, that those opportunities have to be there, especially hunting. We have a lot of opportunities for fishing with the reservoirs and everything else. Hunting's a little bit different animal, and to keep those wildlife areas open, to expand them as much as possible. Were you guys in favor of the trust fund that was set up in that legislation?
Oh, 100%. And I can't thank the legislature enough for their leadership in getting that passed. From appropriations to Ways and Means and Finance to the Lieutenant Governor, I mean, did a phenomenal job. And it's something that I see the legislature recognizing it. We had a huge amount of applications. They've hired a great Ricky Flint. If he's able to produce a 14-foot, 3-inch long alligator, I'm pretty sure he'll be successful in this. But yeah, I think there's so much federal money out there, and we do a very poor job in the state of trying to bring those dollars to the state. And this will provide essential matching dollars, and we're already seeing the results of that with this first round. And we're pretty excited about going into round two.
I think that one of the hitches in the giddy up was the idea: do we fund this on a regular basis? Do we give a guaranteed amount of funding, or do we come back and have the legislature do this year after year after year? That program doesn't work that way, not anymore. If you're going to attack those federal funds, you have to have some consistency, and hopefully we've worked that out because it's most important. I want to ask you more about this when we come back, and it's James Cummins. James is Executive Director of Wildlife Mississippi. You can go to @Wildlife Mississippi to find out more information. Coming up next. Back live in the Trustmark Studios, James Cummins, Executive Director of Wildlife Mississippi. I think it's more important today than ever before, James, when you start thinking about it. All the noise and the digital malaise that goes on out there. To us, hunting and fishing now is more important because that's the withdrawal. You know, if it's any way to get out, not only with yourself as a guy, but with your wife, or the wife with the guy, or just the family, it's tremendously important. And people have to understand this. That don't understand the harvesting part of that. It's so much more than that. And we have a lot of threats from people outside the state of Mississippi. There is a liberal group in the state of Mississippi that would like to see hunting banned and more restrictions on fishing. My God, this morning we had a story here with PETA saying that if you drink milk, it's racist. So these idiots won't stop out there. Your thoughts about this?
Oh God, it's crazier than it ever has been. You're exactly right. And I will say this. When my wife and I first got married, I asked Martha, I said, well, when are you going to start back deer hunting with me? And she looked up on the wall and she said, when you kill one bigger than that. I'm president of the Boone and Crockett Club, and I still haven't killed a larger deer than she has. So,
about that.
But you're exactly right. There's so many threats out there. And in the last 2 weeks, us and a number of us in the hunting and conservation community have been kind of battling the current administration in Washington that is trying to outlaw hunting and archery programs in schools. And if you look at Mississippi, we have a number of different health issues, and getting outside and exercising, and whether it's chasing doves in a field or quail or running after a squirrel dog, That's good exercise. It's also good food as well. So that's totally not what the law intended, was to disband these types of programs. That's just one. I'm concerned, very much concerned in Mississippi. Thinking back to the early '90s when I first started, we were dealing with
Mm-hmm.
anthrax and white-tailed deer up in Tallahatchie County. I'm very concerned of where we're at from a standpoint of trying to privatize our deer in Mississippi. We're the birth of fair chase. I mean, in 1902, Theodore Roosevelt came here and they tied up a teddy bear for him or a bear for him, and he refused to shoot it. That was the birth
Mm-hmm.
of fair chase hunting. And if I look at different types of hunting that people support, about 80% support bow hunting. That season's coming up here next month. Dog hunting, extremely controversial in Mississippi, is 50%. Hunting behind a high fence is 20%. And what we're seeing here is a lot of noise about trying to be able to commercialize white-tailed deer. And thinking about today in 9/11, I think this gentleman said it right, and I want to quote, said, "What people don't understand is this is something we have only in America. There's no other country in the world where the ordinary citizen can go out and enjoy hunting and fishing." And that was one of my fellow Boone and Crockett members, Norman Schwarzkopf. He got it. He got the importance of this. And you can't sell something that belongs in the public trust. Just like me trying to sell, what if I want to go profit off of timber off of a 16th section land? Does that go to me privately? No. Stuff cannot be used for private profit that the public owns. And I think this is something that we're going to be going through over the next, hopefully put it to bed quickly. But that's one of the things that greatly concerns me. And also chronic wasting disease. We've gone from 2018 having one case to 79 cases so far this year, and we're not even over with yet. So we've got a number of threats, be it biological, humanitarian, whatever.
It's good to have organizations like you, your organization out there, simply because, and I think we understand that in the state of Mississippi, certainly people with the NRA, where the mantra is always you give them an inch and they'll take a mile. And that happens. And what puts the fear in us about our way of life in this state is that when you go to Washington, D.C., and you see the tremendous power that a very, very small slice of the pie has, whether it's on the gender, whether a PETA, whether it's the environmentals, and we have to put up a force and stick together because we look at them and we say, okay, they may not be but 1% or 0.5%, but they have an unusual voice in Washington, D.C. That's got to concern you, too.
Absolutely. And, talking about today makes me a little nervous because I'm actually getting on a plane going to Washington this afternoon. And this week is our annual meeting. And
you picked a fine day to book that flight.
Well, that should cause you to have question about your quality of your guest.
Go ahead.
So it's actually this week we have an annual banquet of the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation and Caucus. So the Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus is the largest caucus in the U.S. Congress. I'm proud to say Mississippi's entire federal delegation are members of that. But we try to band together and work on like-minded issues that sportsmen and women have to try to combat some of this stuff. We actually have a Democrat out of Montana, Tester, that's is fighting back on this archery in schools program, and it has introduced legislation to stop it.
I hope so, because it's just absolutely stupid, like a lot of things that's coming out of Washington, D.C. Anything that you want to kind of give a little push to or promote across the state as far as anything on the agenda for the 2024 that you guys will be kind of watching? Any legislation?
So we're moving into a new farm bill. I'm really pleased that Senator Wicker is co-authored a new forest conservation easement program in the Senate, and our entire House delegation with Trent Kelly leading the charge in the House. That's moving forward. A lot of stuff with Wetland Reserve, trying to improve it, Conservation Reserve, a lot of the Farm Bill programs, a lot that the late Senator Cochran helped author and push. So that's one of the main things that we're going to be working on. Really excited about working with the new legislature on reauthorizing and hopefully seeing a bump in funding for the Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund as well.
What's the outlook for duck season this year?
So I think it looks pretty good. I don't think it's not going to be the worst it's ever been. It's not going to be the best, but if we can end up with some water, I think we'll end up with a decent fall flight, especially if we end up with some good cold temperatures to push the birds south.
If we can end up with some what? Water?
Water, yes.
Water? Yeah, water. Rain? You're talking about rain?
It's the thing. It's 2 parts hydrogen and 1 part oxygen. Well, I don't know what that looks like either.
One of those parts is missing. That's why the other part's not here, I think. Look, James, I appreciate it, sir. Don't be a stranger, number one. Number two, go to the SuperTalk website, read the article. It is a good article, and you'll enjoy it. James, thank you, man. Appreciate it very much. Be safe on your travels.
Thank you for the opportunity. Have a great 9/11.